fall, but I did build a fire outside last night. Yeah. Mike Conrad has our invocation, and in his case, it won't be a Rotary moment, it'll be a Rotary hour.
Would you pray with me? Our Father, we're so thankful for the opportunity to gather here this beautiful autumn-like morning. Let us first stop and give thanks for all your many blessings. Grant, O God, thy protection, and in protection strength, and in strength understanding, and in understanding knowledge, and in knowledge the knowledge of justice, and in the knowledge of justice the love of it, and in the love of it the love of all things, and in the love of all things the love of you and all goodness. Let us rise up and greet the sun. Let us wash our hearts with laughter, and rinse them with peace, and dry them with love. Bless this food to the strength and nourishment of our bodies, and us to thy service. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I do my Rotary moment?
I
don't. On the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Now you can have your
and it's just really great. And my Rotary moment has to do with just being a part of this group. And I was just kind of reflecting last night about how we all got started back in 1991.
Yes, sir.
25 of us was looking at a charter night photograph from the Marriott over at the airport. And there's only about 4 or 5 of us that are still in this club that are charter members. But just to see the progression of this club and how we have just become one of the best Rotary clubs in all of the Rotary world. But as things have changed, you know, some things stay the same. Robbie Hassel is still the last person typically to get here. Is he here? Yeah. Oh, there he is! But it's a great group, and I just love being a part of this.
Thank you, Mike. Sergeant at Arms, we've got a couple of trainees today. We have Tom Richardson and John Nossick being trained by Michael and Mike. So, did you draw the short straw?
Oh, I actually have to talk now? Well, today good morning. We have a guest from Greensboro, Griselda Clark. Back in the back. That's it?
Okay.
Are there any other guests that we didn't get checked in? I don't think so.
All right. Good job. Thank you, John.
What?
Birthdays, anniversaries. Kevin.
We've got quite a few this week. As far as birthdays, on the 12th was Tracy Brooks. On the 12th also was Jim Kennedy. And on the 13th was Dale Farrell. Or Farlow, excuse me. I need to put my glasses on. Sorry. Ross Geller on the 13th also, and then finally on the 13th was Kelly Harrell. Anniversaries we got on the 12th was Darren and Stephanie Carino. On the 16th is Zen and Casper. I don't know if I can pronounce this properly, but yeah, don't say it. And then finally is Beth and Gardner Sheffield.
Happy Dollars, my favorite.
Oh, yes. I missed y'all. Y'all did what? Y'all did.
Some of the tables are flyers about what Chip was talking about last week for pig stock. We had a meeting last night with 8 or 10 of the guys cooking. We're going to cut it off to 12. We've got 3 Rotary clubs engaged so far. We hope to get 2 more Rotary clubs. We're hoping David's church will come out and cook as well. The guys decided they're going to cook everything. So we have beef brisket, we have a dozen different kinds of pork and chicken. It's going to be a really good time. Lots of live music. Check it out. Thanks much.
Awesome. Go ahead, yeah.
So last Friday, at the end of our week-long vacation at the beach, Stephanie and I made it official. So we finally, after trying for a year and a half, we managed to get married.
I have 2 happy dollars today. As you may remember, I took him with me to the meeting a couple of weeks ago. We had or still have our 40-year-old nephew visiting us for a month. And he's from the Netherlands. And he came here to learn about American culture and language. We're going to send him home this weekend. He had a great time, did all kinds of things, from shooting guns to going to a football game. And one of his highlights, and I have to thank Bobby, is he really seriously wants to become a pilot, and Bobby took him on a flight.
Oh, wow.
So he was really, he sees that as the biggest highlight of all. The other good news is because he's been there a month, on Saturday we sent him packing, so we are empty nesters again. But the second happy dollar is that empty nest period only lasts one night, because on Sunday our Rotary exchange student arrives. So a young lady from Germany, her name is Marit Binke, and she flies in on Sunday from Germany, and then we're going to host her for the next 4 months or so.
Wow. Wonderful. All right. Y'all did them all last week? Huh? That's all right. Well, Grandpappy was out walking, and he walked by this Catholic church, and there were a couple of people outside, and Grandpappy, as he walked by, he said, "Is Mass out?" And they said, "No, but your hat's on crooked." It's gonna be a little bit of a delay. A little bit of a delay.
Have you finished the joke yet?
You didn't get that one, Bob? You're Catholic.
Give it to Tom or John. Today is a special day in Rotary. We're going to induct 2 new members. Dennis Marcotte.
I guess you know you made it if they trust you with money. John and Tom, if you could come up. Can you hear me? Yeah, there we go. This is exciting for 2 reasons. I'm doing this for the first time, so this is cool. So there's probably going to be something done wrong, so don't worry. You'll still get inducted. You won't know the difference. But a great moment in Rotary when we can assemble today and induct 2 new members. And on behalf of the Board of Directors, our members, we sincerely welcome you here. Our welcome is not only in anticipation of a good fellowship we'll share with you here on Thursday mornings and during social outings. We welcome you for your strong arms and your sturdy back, which will help us carry out on our many service projects, which in small yet significant way make our community, our country, and our world a better place to all live. For all here, Rotarian and non-Rotarian alike, let's be reminded of these important facts. Rotary is not a political organization, but all Rotarians are vitally concerned with everything pertaining to good citizenship and the election of good men and women to public office. Rotary is not a charitable organization, yet its activities exemplify the charity and its sacrifices that one should expect from people who believe that they have a responsibility to help others. Rotary is not a religious organization, but it is built on those eternal principles that have served us as the moral compass for people throughout the ages, as well as the foundation of our great country. Rotary is an organization of business and professional people pledged to upholding the highest professional standards. Rotarians believe that worldwide fellowship and international peace can be achieved when business people unite under the banner of service. I'd like to request everyone to please stand for the delivery of the following charge. You, John and Tom, have been chosen for membership of the Rotary Club of Gate City. Your sponsor and fellow members believe in you to be a leader in your special line of work, that you embody the qualities of head and heart that fit you to interpret and impart the message of Rotary. You are the representative of your vocation. At the same time, you now become an ambassador of Rotary. We rely on you to carry the principles of ideals and service to those who you work with. Additionally, we expect you to help to inspire us, you fellow members, to become better Rotarians. Now, will you pin Tom? It is our hope you will wear it proudly for others to see. Also included in your official certificate of membership in Rotary and a declaration of the four-way test to help you be reminded of what it means to be a Rotarian. Yes. Sure I get the right one? Yes. Let's get the right names. Allow me to offer you my personal friendship. Thank you. Joining Rotary. My fellow Rotarians, I give you John and Tom, our new Rotarians.
Dan Quinn has some announcements. He's standing in for Danny Farley. Dan for Danny.
September 21st is Big Sweep. I know Danny will probably get a sign up out in a week or two. Well, quicker than that, it's back next week for that. The rebuild dates are October 4th and 5th and October 11th and 12th. We have signed up to partner with Crescent this year. Last year, I think we partnered with Summit. We're going to do a roof. I have taken the non-executive authority and agreed to rent the little thing that drives the shingles up the roof. So we will not be toting shingles. So everybody's going, shingles get up there without you having to do that. So 2 weekends in October, October 4th, 5th, October 11th, and 12th. And I'll make sure we get a sign-up sheet around for that.
Thank you, Dan. I'll never. Do they have anything that sort of helps keep the shingles straight?
They call that a chalk line.
One of my Rotary moments that I'll never
Harassment from the ground.
A Rotary moment, I think there was some crooked chalk out there. A little dip in it. Emily Hull, introduce our speaker.
Well, I'm not actually going to introduce our speaker, but I do want to remind everyone about the fundraising committee meeting after the meeting here today, if you'd like to join us. But Tom is going to introduce his
Okay,
little
Tom
lady.
has our speaker. All right, Tom.
Many of y'all probably either know someone or have heard somebody locally or read in the paper about a tragic, they were at a sporting event or they were at a symphony or church or wherever, and somebody kills over and dies from a heart attack. Well, there's a new statewide initiative to try to increase the survivability of those folks, and Julie is going to speak about that today. Emily sent an email around last night that gives the background of that. Julie's been in pharmaceutical sales for over 20 years. She owns a small company called Philwood Bioadvisors, and she provides consulting services, sales and marketing to various drugs in various stages of development. And this is a project that's close and dear to her heart. So, most importantly, she's married to a very wonderful man.
Why is she calling him honey?
We're going to start off with a short video, if it works. If not, we'll move into the presentation. But the objective today is to make you aware of this state project that's going on to improve survivability from cardiac arrest, as well as talk about what we want to empower the community to do so that you can be a part of this improvement in survivability. So the objective today is to advise you of the program and then to maybe inspire you to get involved on a community level. Oh yeah, open this up. Let's see if it's going to work.
You're ahead of the game.
May not work. Okay, well, we may come back to this at the end, but this what was setting the stage was this is an event in a huge football stadium where somebody falls out. And it's very simple for the people that are sitting in this room to make a difference in saving that person's life. So that's what we're here about, but we're going to go ahead and get into the presentation, and maybe this will work when we come back to it. All right, let's go to this right here. Okay, race cars. You may have seen that acronym on the invitation to come to this meeting today. That is a regional approach to cardiovascular emergencies, cardiac arrest resuscitation system. And in North Carolina, about 8 years ago, Duke Clinical Research Institute came up with a very aggressive program to give regional care to everyone who had a heart attack. And because of that, we were recognized on a national level, and especially by the American Heart Association, to roll this out across the country. So these were for those big heart attacks that you've heard, you've got 90 minutes to get that artery open. So because of that, we were invited to join a program that is sponsored by the Medtronic Foundation, which you can see has about 9 partners across the United States to look at sudden cardiac arrest, which is either an MI or there is a shockable rhythm that can be used, an automated external defibrillator can be used in the field to get that heart rate, to get that heart pumping again. Okay? So, what is the prevalence of this disease? And you will see that almost a 500,000 people have a cardiac arrest in the U.S. Now, these numbers are hard to really come by because so many times these are unwitnessed arrests and they don't know whether this was a cardiac arrest. But this is the 3rd leading cause of death, and unfortunately there hasn't been a change in this in 30 years, and that's the survivability. So that is one thing that's moving this initiative to make a difference. Okay, so if you look at this chart, you see places in the United States, and across the bottom, the survival to discharge from a cardiac arrest. So I think it doesn't take much study of this chart to see you don't want to have a cardiac arrest in Alabama, which is exactly where I was raised. And so you look at this and say, well, what are they doing in Seattle that they're not doing in Alabama? Well, Seattle has been working on a cardiac arrest survivability initiative for 20 years. And that is pretty much the model for this Medtronic project. So we're modeling a lot of the things in North Carolina on what they've done in Seattle. So here are our preliminary data, and you'll see there's quite a discrepancy between 5,000 and 8,000 per year. And this is because of record keeping. So the first thing that we started out with in this project was establishing a registry, starting with EMS, because they're the ones that are first on scene. And then we're taking that through the hospital so that we can get the outcome. Because one thing that you find in healthcare, unfortunately, is that all the people that treat a patient aren't connected. And that's something that's really important in cardiac arrest, because you start out with the community bystander or the person at home. Most arrests happen at home. A lot of them are unwitnessed. But the person in this room that sees an arrest is the person that can help that person the most. What you do in the first 3 minutes when that person goes down gives them the best chance of survivability. So the community is important. And you see, I was getting passionate about that, but discharge from the hospital is likely under 5% in North Carolina, which is not good. Okay. So, this woman over here with the baby had a cardiac arrest when she was pregnant. And the thing that really inspires people in this whole continuum of providers of care during a cardiac arrest is that 10 years ago, a woman that arrested with a baby, they would practically give her no hope. This woman arrested at home, her husband was beside her. The elements of success were he recognized that she hadn't just fainted, that she had a cardiac arrest. He called 911. Medical dispatch gave him instructions on how to give compression-only CPR, which kept her, what that did was kept her heart beating so that blood was circulating through her system and oxygen was going to her brain. That's the biggest thing that we're worried about when somebody has a cardiac arrest, is that the heart is stopped, so we've got to keep the brain alive. The first responder, the fire trucks came with an AED. They were able, and AEDs are placed throughout the community, and they come with instructions. All you have to do is turn it on, and anybody in this room can operate an AED. Then, one initiative that we have throughout the state is that EMS have a hypothermia protocol. We're learning more and more about cooling. As soon as we can cool the body, what that does is that puts that body into a state where everything is slowing down and you are taking care of the brain while you're going to get the heart back into to business. Now, one thing that you keep hearing me say, compression only. One thing that we've learned is that you have enough oxygen in your body for 10 to 12 minutes that you don't need the breathing. So the problem is getting that oxygen circulated. So uninterrupted compressions on the chest is the most important thing that we can do for that patient before EMS gets there. And she had her baby and she's full neurological function. So that's a great success story. So in addition to that, we are also retraining our EMS on high quality CPR, which is a pit crew approach. You know, I think we're familiar with, and that was one of the reasons we took the race car initiative. You know, everybody has a job, whether it's a 2-man team, a 3-man team, or a 5-man team. And that way, you know, we know that we're getting that quality CPR, because when you think of it, CPR requires a 2-inch depression on the chest. Think about that, 2 inches on your chest, and 100 compressions a minute. It's and I'm gonna get somebody to come up here and show us that. It's a hard thing to do. It's very tiring. But if you have a group, you know, where somebody collapses, you know, you take turns doing it until EMS gets there. Okay. Next, please. Okay, so our goal in the state of North Carolina is to increase survivability by 50%. Okay? And how are we doing that? Well, the first process, obviously, is to develop the leadership and the core group. So that's been done. We've gotten the funding for it. It's from Medtronic. So now our cardiac arrest centers have been established throughout the state. You'll be happy to know that High Point, Moses Cone, all of our big PCI centers where they do percutaneous coronary interventions are now also cardiac arrest centers. So what that means is they have the finest care there for cardiac arrest. If you have a cardiac arrest in Greensboro, you will not be taken to Wesley Long. You will be taken to Moses Cone. So we have systems approaches throughout the state on hospitals where cardiac arrests are taken, okay? The hospitals have their cardiac arrest plans. The EMS have their cardiac arrest plans. And then the huge component is bringing together community organizations to help with community education and awareness so that there's more bystander CPR. Because it's crazy to understand this, but I have to keep repeating that there's nothing that the hospital can do for a cardiac arrest patient if that patient has not been kept alive in the field. Because that's the end of care. Either they can continue it or it doesn't help. So, you know, what we are advocating is compression-only CPR, and then the CPR stays on the site. They are not even transported to the hospital until they get back continuous resuscitation in the field. Okay. So, a couple of things that that have already been implemented in the state. Some of them that we had no control over, which are wonderful. There's a new state bill that was passed last year that to graduate from high school in the state of North Carolina, you have to have CPR training. And that does not have to be American Heart Association certified training. Compression only CPR is what they will be teaching to these children starting in 8th grade, but the ones that will be graduating in 15 have to have it. So this is a great educational tool. Of course, just like a lot of things that happen in our state, it's not funded. So they're doing a lot of this through health education classes. We have people all over the state, well, particularly in Asheville. This is a passion of a person up in Asheville, and they physically take teams out into the schools, and they'll do a CPR day, and they'll train everybody from kindergarten up. And even an 8th grader, a big 8th grade boy can do this, you know, I mean, an 8-year-old boy can do this to keep somebody alive until the help arrives. Another bill that was passed last year, because one of our legislators had a cardiac arrest in her office at the state legislature, and nobody knew where an AED was. She survived, and she's passionate about this now. So a law was passed that said in every public building an AED needs to be placed. Well, you know, that's great, but they're in churches. Do you have one in your church? Great. There are a lot of another thing that we learned when we did our research on AEDs was there are a lot of AEDs out there, but the 911 people don't know where they are. So if I called and I said, help, there's somebody that's fallen, I know this is a cardiac arrest, they're not recognizing me, they're not breathing normally, and they'll say, well, find an AED, you know, okay, start compression only CPR, get someone to find an AED. Well, do you know where, here's where I am, do you know where one is? No, go look. So that's one thing that on a countywide basis, we are working with them on locating these AEDs and getting that to the 911 people. So there are just all these little disconnects that as an organization we're trying to pull these people together and information together so that we can make this a better chance of survival. One thing that we're doing is, you know, hospital employees, there's so many non-clinical employees in a hospital that we're training, because not only can they be there in the cafeteria when somebody falls, but think of how many people our hospitals employ. So that's one, when they're out in the community. So that is one part that people are putting in place in their hospitals, to train all non-clinical hospital employees. We're also encouraging all of our hospitals to put in place a education of the family of heart patients, because they're the ones that are most at risk of having a cardiac arrest after they go home or a year later. So if the family members know how to do this compression-only CPR, we're in a much better situation. Okay, so I think we're going to see how you do this next. Okay, so very simple, check if the victim is not responsive or breathing normally. So in the video, what you see is when somebody collapsed, are you okay? If you get no response, they're not okay. And if they're not breathing normally, they may be rasping, or they may be, it sounds like they might cough. That is not breathing normally. So we're trying to train dispatch to ask those two questions. Are they responsive? Are they breathing normally? And then that should put them straight into a compression-only conversation with that patient, with the person who is with that patient. As you listen to some of these, we're retraining our dispatch, you listen to some of these calls from dispatch, and it's painful how long it takes for them. They don't want to recognize a cardiac arrest. They would much prefer a shooting or a domestic, they don't like, dispatch they do not like medical emergencies. They're very scary to these people. So we are retraining them to recognize this quickly and then be aggressive in giving instructions to the bystander on what to do. Instead of, do you think you could try CPR on this patient? On this person? It's the answer now is, I'm going to talk you through CPR because you can save this person's life. Okay, so it's very simple. If you can, place them on their back. Sometimes this may happen in, like on the sofa, like that woman up there passed out on the sofa, and she was pregnant, so the husband left her on the sofa. But if you can, turn them on their back on a hard surface so that you can have the pressure. You kneel beside them with your hands like this. Cooper, you want to come up here and see how easy this is to do? Okay, so you interlock your hands like this. You put your hands in the middle of their chest, okay, right here, okay? And you want to stand right over the body. Okay? Move yourself all the way up there, okay? Because you want your strength over the body, not out here, but right here, okay? And then you're going to push hard, okay, hard, Cooper. Okay, that's good.
I thought I was volunteering to be the gun.
Okay, gotta go faster. Okay, yeah, 100 times a minute.
50 yards.
Okay, so and all right, so she knows the stay. We have the staying alive. You're doing it to the beat of staying alive. Are we doing no?
That'd be a good place to have one.
Or young children who've not heard of staying alive. Row your boat gently down the stream. Okay, but you keep your arms locked. And you keep your compression going hard and fast. And after 2 minutes, you're exhausted. If you're doing this right, you're exhausted. Okay, I know. Okay, so anyway, thanks, Coach. But I've got these dummies up here that you're welcome to work on when you come when the program's over. Okay, that's good.
Julie?
Yes.
Are y'all telling people that they got to expect to hear the ribs crack when they start doing it? If they're not crack, I mean, it's going to happen. And if they aren't willing to go that hard, it's not going to happen.
Well,
I'm serious. I mean, that's what we were taught. If you're not locked in and you're not hearing ribs crack, you're not getting it down.
well, our EMS they've never told me that I need to say that. So
I'm saying,
yeah,
as we trained in the dental field, we had to be
Yeah.
prepared for that.
Yeah.
And you got to have your elbows locked because somebody, unless they're as strong as Cooper, can't even get to compressions.
right.
And
Well,
they-
like
and
for
they
me,
get old.
and of course it's easier when they're on the ground than when they're up here.
I think it
'cause
is.
you're
That's
over.
hard to do right
Yeah,
there.
you can't do it here, but when they're on
It's
the
hard to do.
when
Don't
you're
feel that good.
yeah. So that's a good point that you bring up. What's the risk? Well, this person is considered dead, okay? So the risk is either you're gonna help them to some extent, or they're gonna stay dead. So a
That's what I'm
broken
saying.
rib, if you save somebody's
I mean,
life.
the rip, a lot of people back off before they start hearing something and they quit and they aren't getting the compression.
Yeah, well, and if you look at an EKG with this, even the pass off between, what happens is, when you are pressing on this chest, you're getting, you're starting to get a rhythm. As soon as your hands come off, it's a flat line, because what you're doing, your hands are actually the heart, so yes, you have to go deep. It's hard for me on the ground to get a click out of this. 2 inches on a body. I mean, I feel like I'm not much more than 2 inches from here to here, So, yes, it's hard work, but do it.
What's your legal?
Well,
What was the question?
the legal. Unfortunately, in North Carolina, we do not have a Good Samaritan law. Are there any attorneys in here? Robbie?
I don't think so.
Why don't we have a Good Samaritan? Okay, that's another subject, but that's true, right?
What is the Good
A
Samaritan
Good
law? What would
Samaritan
that
law, well, as I understand.
As a matter of jurisprudence,
Oh,
there
here
may
we
not be
go.
a statute on it, but the standard of care, if someone is ever subject to legal liability, will be reasonable under the circumstances, including emergency circumstances where the standard is different. So you are rarely on the hook unless you really affirmatively do something to screw something up. If you don't quite do it right, it's not a problem. If you're not, it's better than not doing it at all. I mean, the law's going to recognize that in North Carolina.
Okay, thank you. Now, I do want to make one point. This is for older children and adults. This is not for babies. This is not for drug overdoses. This is not for drownings. Those people need oxygen, okay? So we are not advocating compression-only CPR for those cases. Those people still need, they need air support, okay? Does that look simple enough for everybody in this room? Okay, I think we're winding up, okay? Next. Okay, so easy, Bobby. Okay.
Julie, are y'all teaching people if somebody has thrown up, which is not unusual in the heart attack cases, to turn them sideways, wipe their mouth out before you start?
Yes.
I mean, those are
Yes,
critical things.
yes. The biggest thing we're trying to get the community to know is that you don't have to put your mouth on this person. That compression, there's enough oxygen circulating in that body. We've just got to get it to the brain. So that's the biggest take home. We're going to community fairs. We went to a NASCAR event. We trained over 1,000 people at NASCAR, just coming through with a 2-minute spiel by us of compression only. So, check, call, and compress. The three C's. So, that's the end of the presentation. If any of y'all are interested in what we're trying to do is get groups that would have teams that could help at community events, because we can't get to every community event. But like the Heart Walk, where they have vendors, or, I know the Women's Walk had, vendors set up. We could support the vendor fee if we could get, a team of 3 people that would say, okay, when there are events in Greensboro, our Rotary Club will, we'll send 3 people, once a quarter, and we'll provide the dummies, and if there's a vendor fee of $250, we'll do that. We just need manpower, and anybody can teach this. I'm not medical. It's, basically what we just did. Question?
Yeah, I guess starting compression-only CPR, you wouldn't want to do that on somebody who isn't in cardiac arrest. So, what are the signs of cardiac arrest versus other types of related things?
All right, great question. The first thing is this is a witnessed cardiac arrest. Okay, if you walk around the corner up there and see somebody on the ground, you're not, number one, you're not going to immediately start CPR. You're going to you know, call 911, and then you're gonna start assessing. Usually a sudden cardiac arrest is just that. I could be talking to you right now and just completely, in mid-sentence, fall out. And that's why I wanted y'all to see that video. They're not a seizure. They're pretty much just that. Somebody doing a normal activity. These athletes, they're, you know, dribbling down the basketball court, bam. And then the two keys are they're completely out, non-responsive, and that they're not breathing normally, okay? CPR is not going to hurt somebody that's had a stroke, but a stroke really does look different from that. Question?
Julie, I'm not going to tell the difference between sudden cardiac arrest and, say, an aneurysm. Both people fall out.
That's what Tommy asked me this morning. You know, is there anybody medical in here that has a better description of that? Yes.
The key is to check their pulse, because if they're choking,
Okay.
you want to do the Heimlich maneuver, or you want to clear the obstruction
Right.
to their airway.
Right.
If somebody's choking, you start doing chest compressions, they're going to die.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
Instead
I
of
agree
just
with
doing
that.
a simple procedure that'll get the obstruction out, their heart's still beating. If they're not breathing and their pulse is still
Pulse is-
going, they
yeah.
probably are choking.
Well,
And
and
that's
to
very
that
common.
point, is and that's a good point. If they're choking, aren't they going to be having some other kind
Yeah,
of
but you may come up, like that's the initial stage, right?
Okay.
After they've
Yeah.
not had oxygen, their heart will continue to beat because
Right.
their heart's healthy.
Right, it's just
So
their
they'll pass
obstruction.
out, they'll be non-responsive, they'll be unconscious, but their
Right.
heart's still beating.
Okay.
So it's hard to determine,
Right.
but you can kind of, that's why the rescue breath is important if you're like an ACLS trainer
Right.
or a team.
Right.
Because you'll see there's
Right.
something obstructing them.
Right.
Do you try and force it out first? So,
Very good
I mean,
point.
that's a little higher level, but I don't know.
No, very good point. That's a very good point. I think the main take home is that, you know, we don't want to do this to somebody that's choking, but if you've more than likely, if you've witnessed that, you're going to witness the choking.
It's easy to check a pulse.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
most
that's
people
true,
here
too.
know how to do that. And if they don't have a pulse, then I would immediately go into the chest compression.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, anything else? Okay.
Julie, is there a time frame identified for getting the 911 operators an inventory of the AED location?
Oh, no, we don't have a time frame on that. You know, we're kind of leaving that up to our cardiac arrest centers to work with their EMS and dispatch to do that. So, as the leader of this quality improvement initiative at Duke, you know, we can't mandate to people what to do. We have come up with an operations, you know, manual that I'm happy to leave with y'all, that these are our, what we think should be standard of care for cardiac arrest for all providers. I think, do we have that chain of survival on there? Will you click through and see if we have that chain of survival? Keep going. This, you know, from dispatch to fire department, which is first responders, to ambulance, to hospital, we have standards of care, an operations manual that we suggest for best outcomes to, for them to employ different techniques. So no, we don't have a deadline for that. Gaston County this has been one of their top initiatives, and so they actually had somebody that was an employee of the hospital that they charged to find every AED in the community. You know, I mean, that was part of their job. So different people across the state are going to do things differently, and we can't mandate it, but that's one of our key things is find your AEDs and make sure 911, you know, your dispatch has a list of these.
Didn't you say that electronic EMS don't always have good relationship?
Well, you know, a lot, no, EMS does, but first responders are usually the fire department, you know, whether they are volunteer or county. And, you know, as in all things, resources, financial resources are difficult in some counties. And so some even fire departments don't have AEDs on their.
How much does an AED cost?
I think, well,
Around
maybe $1,000.
I think they're more, about $1,800. Just to end on maybe more
Some
positive.
of them online said they were like $6.95.
Here's some used ones on them.
I just want to end on like a positive note because it may be not as dire because there are pockets of organization too. I mean, I worked at Stockhausen for 7 years and I work at High Point Chemical now. In both of those facilities, we did studies. There's an AED within 50 yards. 50 yards sounds like a lot, but in a chemical plant, it's not because the buildings are separate.
Yeah.
AEDs within 50 yards. First responders trained on all shifts, so you got 24/7. So there are places that are highly organized too. There's maps and where the AEDs are. You train everybody every year where they are. So I mean, I just don't want to paint such a bleak picture.
And that's a great point. You know, what we need to do is places like that need to be held up. You know, that's what we need. We need to find out places that are positively impacting, and those need to be models for
And ours
other
might be
companies.
$1,800 because they have to be intrinsically safe. They have to be explosive, flammable vapors. Because I remember they're $1,800, but again, you have a spark in a chemical plant, not a good thing.
Right.
So you
Yes,
can't
yes.
use a 12-volt battery in your
Where people can register, because I have one. I mean, you know, if they just they can put it on the radio, say register your AED at this website.
Yep.
And we could you could put in your address and you'd have a map right there. I mean, that would be super easy.
That's a great suggestion. That's a great suggestion. Yes.
You know, I was with Gardner Sheffield 5 minutes after he had his cardiac arrest. And, you know, first responders were there. You know, if I'm the only one in the room, you know, I'll call 911, but I do not want to spend time going hunting down an AED in
And
a
you should.
hotel.
You should stay with the
I can
patient.
send someone to do it, but
Yes, that's
in
exactly.
Greensboro, you know, 911's going to show up so quick.
Yes.
Fortunately,
Yes.
if you tell them where you are.
Yeah. Right. Well, wow. I didn't realize that you were with him. So. Yeah, but that's a great idea about the website, and that's something that we could initiate very easily. Great idea. Okay. Thank you.
We were going to donate a book to Cone Elementary.
Oh,
Thank you. If you would, draw the winning raffle.
Oh, okay.
For some lucky Rotarian.
Lucky Rotarian. Bless.
Don't forget the cart fund on your table.
Do I get to say this?
Just the last 3 numbers.
152.
Way to go, Julie!
Y'all have a great day.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Winner in there.
This one, right? Oh, Jack.
Jack.
What's it supposed to be?
Quick card.
Oh, all right.